කවුද ඉන්නේ? Mic test on, test on, mic test on.
ඇති නේද? ස්පීකර් on කරන්න.
A very good morning to all of you, and welcome to the second annual Peradeniya Medical School Research Conference 2023.
Please feel to take your seats as we'll be commencing the session shortly.
Ladies and gentlemen, please rise for the ceremonial procession entering the premises. Thank you. Thank you.
A very good morning to all of you. We are indeed honored and delighted to welcome you to the second Peradeniya Medical School Annual Research Conference 2023.
It's a very special day today, as this is the second edition of this conference, the continuation of the legacy with many more years to come. PeMSARC is a collaborative effort of all facets of Faculty of Medicine, University of Peradeniya.
Let's hope that just like today, this flame of innovation and youth will be kept alive and unquenched for the generations to come.
So with that thought, let's proceed with the rest of today's program.
Let us all rise again for the University Anthem. Thank you very much. And now all you may remain seated.
A kind reminder to all attendees.
To access the logbook of abstracts, you can either use one of two ways.
1. You can simply scan the QR code, which will soon be projected on screen. Or 2. Visit the faculty website, which is med.pdn.ac.lk PeMSARC. A QR code of our online live stream will also be projected.
Stay informed and make the most of your PeMSARC'23 experience.
Keeping with tradition, it's now time to light the traditional oil lamp. Hence, we cordially invite the following dignitaries to light the traditional oil lamp. Vice Chancellor, University of Peradeniya, Professor M.D. Lamavansha.
Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Terence Madhujit.
Chief Guest, Emeritus Professor Nimal Senanayaka.
Keynote Speaker, Professor Neelika Malavige.
The Dean, Faculty of Medicine, Professor Vasanthi Pinto.
Representing the Deans of all other faculties, University of Peradeniya, Professor Manjula Artigala, the Dean, Faculty of Dental Sciences, Peradeniya.
An invited director representing all postgraduate institutes.
Conference Co-Chair, PeMSARC', Dr. Samidhi Navaratna.
Conference Secretary, PeMSARC', Dr. Lakshika Patirana.
Conference Treasurer, PeMSARC', Professor Padmini Dahanayaka.
Chairperson, Faculty Research Committee, Professor Fasiha Nurdin.
Director, Research and Development Division, Dr. Kirti Disanayaka.
President, Kandy Society of Medicine, Professor Samanna Nayakara.
President, Peradeniya Medical School Alumni Association, Professor Heshan Jayavira.
Director, Teaching Hospital Peradeniya, Dr. Arjuna Tilakaratna.
Director, National Hospital Kandy, Dr. Erasha Fernando.
Director, Sirimawo Bandaranayaka Specialized Children's Hospital, Dr. S. Veera Bandara.
Clinical Coordinator, representing the extended staff, Dr. L.R.P.K.B. Udapamanuwa.
Student Chairperson, PeMSARC', Mr. Sachit Karagala.
President, Medical Faculty Students Union, Mr. Nishant Priyasankar.
We would like to also invite Deputy Director, Peradeniya, Dr. Kumudu Bandara.
Thank you very much. You may now be seated. Thank you very much. With that, let us now witness the students of the Faculty of Medicine, Peradeniya, invoke divine blessings for this event with a spectacular puja dance. Thank you for that mesmerizing performance.
Healthcare decisions and policies must be based on evidence-based medicine.
Most of present recommendations and guidelines for medical treatment and diagnosis stem from research.
PeMSARC was initiated by the staff and students of Faculty of Medicine, University of Peradeniya, with the goal of inspiring students and academia to further develop their skills and interests in the world of research.
It also aims to provide a platform for students to present their research projects and further inspire them to pursue research and contribute to the world of academia.
The Peradeniya Medical Faculty possesses a rich academic history and is the alma mater of countless fine clinicians and researchers. And with PeMSARC, it's in our hope that we shall continue to produce impactful research into distant future of this faculty and our nation.
Being a researcher requires dedication, hard work, and more than a little inspiration.
After all, the ultimate goal of research is to discover the truth.
And to create new knowledge too. Clinical or medical research is a component of medical and health research intended to produce knowledge valuable for understanding human disease, preventing and treating illness, and preventing the obstacles we find out during our management of the patients.
Research is a scientific approach to answer a research question and to generate new knowledge.
Before moving on to the remainder of the session, we would like to cordially invite the following dignitaries to the head table. Vice Chancellor, University of Peradeniya, Professor M.D. Lamawansa.
Chief Guest, Emeritus Professor Nimal Senanayaka.
The Dean, Faculty of Medicine, Peradeniya, Professor Vasanthi Pinto.
The Conference Co-Chair, Dr. Samidhi Navaratna.
Conference Secretary, PeMSARC, Dr. Lakshika Patirana.
We now invite Dr. Samidhi Navaratna, the Conference Co-Chair of PeMSARC'23, to deliver the welcome address.
Thank you. Vice Chancellor, Professor M.D. Lamawansa, Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Terence Madhujit, our Chief Guest, Vidya Jyoti Kala Shiromani, Professor Nimal Senanayaka, Keynote Speaker and the Guest of Honor, Professor Neelika Malavige, Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, Professor Vasanthi Pinto, Deans of all the other faculties, PeMSARC President, KSM President, Hospital Directors, Chief Medical Officer of University of Peradeniya, members of the extended clinical staff, invitees, members of the academic and non-academic staff of the Faculty of Medicine, colleagues, students, including all the presenters, parents, well-wishers, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. And on behalf of the organizing committee of PeMSARC'23, let me extend a warm welcome to all of you to the second conference of the Peradeniya Medical School Annual Research Conference, PeMSARC'23. It is an immense pleasure to see all of you gathered here today from various corners of the academic and medical professions to celebrate the spirit of research, innovation, and collaboration. Before we begin, I would like to extend a very special welcome to our esteemed dignitaries who have graced this occasion with their presence. We are honored to have with us our Vice Chancellor, Professor M.D. Lamavansa, who is a distinguished member of our faculty and whose guidance and leadership continue to drive excellence within our university. Sir, your unwavering support has been instrumental in the success of this event. We also welcome our Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Terence Madhujit. Thank you, sir, for taking the time to be with us today. A warm welcome goes to our chief guest, Vidya Jyoti Kala Shiromani, Professor Nimal Senanayaka, Emeritus Professor of University of Peradeniya, who is an illustrious alumnus of the Faculty of Medicine, University of Peradeniya, whose accomplishments as an academic, researcher, scholar, and scriptwriter have inspired us all. Thank you, sir, for accepting our invitation and gracing this conference as the chief guest. Next, I extend a hearty welcome to our keynote speaker and guest of honor for the day, Professor Neelika Malavige, an eminent academic from the University of Sri Jayawardenepura, whose expertise and insights will undoubtedly enrich our conference. Thank you, Professor Malavige, for coming all the way from Colombo amidst a lot of difficulties to grace our conference. Our welcome and gratitude also goes out to our very own Dean of the Faculty, Professor Vasanthi Pinto, for her unwavering support and guidance in making PeMSARC'23 a reality. Madam, your visionary leadership has guided us through the intricate planning and execution phases of this conference, ensuring that every detail has been meticulously attended to. We are also pleased to have the presence of other deans and hospital directors from Kandy and Peradeniya. I would like to take a moment to extend our warmest welcome and sincere appreciation to two distinguished individuals who have played a pivotal role in supporting us by awarding prizes for the best undergraduate presentations of PeMSARC. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Heshan Jayavira, the President of the Peradeniya Medical School Alumni Association, and Professor Saman Nanakkara, the President of the Kandy Society of Medicine. At this point, I would also like to welcome Dr. Ashan Gunaratna, President of PeMSA UK in absentia, while acknowledging with gratitude the monetary contributions made by PeMSA UK towards the pre-Congress workshop of PeMSARC'23. A warm welcome to all the past and present esteemed faculty members. Behind every successful student research project, there is a mentor who provides a valuable insights, guidance, and unwavering support. Let us not forget to welcome and appreciate our research supervisors and the reviewers who have been instrumental in shaping the research endeavors of our students. A warm and cordial welcome to our esteemed judges of the day. Your involvement enhances the credibility and prestige of this event, and we are grateful for your participation. Our warm welcome is extended to our dedicated non-academic staff, proud parents of the faculty awardees and students, including all the presenters. It is your collective presence that makes this conference truly special. Research conferences like PeMSARC play a pivotal role in fostering a culture of inquiry, collaboration, and intellectual growth. They serve as a beacon guiding us toward a future where healthcare is more informed, more compassionate, and more effective. It is indeed a testament to the dynamic and inclusive spirit of PeMSARC that our undergraduate students play a major role in orchestrating this grand gathering of minds. Their involvement not only showcases their enthusiasm and dedication, but also accentuates the commitment of our institution to nurturing the next generation of healthcare leaders and medical researchers. Once again, I welcome all of you to the PeMSARC'23, and I hope all of you will have a productive, enlightening, and enjoyable experience at PeMSARC'23. Thank you, and let the conference begin.
Thank you, Madam.
It's now our great pleasure to invite Professor Vasanthi Pinto, the Dean of Faculty of Medicine, University of Peradeniya, to address the gathering.
Thank you. Good morning to all of you. The Vice Chancellor of the University of Peradeniya, Professor M.D. Lamavansha, the Deputy Vice Chancellor, Professor Terence Madhujith, the Chief Guest, Vidyajyothi Emeritus Professor of Medicine, and the former Dean, Professor Nimal Senanayake, the Guest of Honor and the Keynote Speaker, our one and only, Professor Neelika Malavige, Professor of Microbiology, Faculty of Medicine, University of Sri Dawadanapura, all the Deans of the faculties, Professor Manjula Attikala, Dean of the Faculty of Dental Sciences, Professor Alani Ativara, Dean of the Faculty of Allied Health Sciences, Professor Sanath Rajapaksha, Dean of the Faculty of Science, the Acting Dean of the Faculty of Agriculture, Professor Shalinda Benaragama, the Director, PGIMSM, Professor Samath Dharmaratna, former Deans of the Faculty, Professor Vajra Veerasinghe and Professor Asiri Abhigunodana, members of the academic staff of the faculty, the extended staff, clinical coordinator, Dr. Uda Pamanua, the Deputy Director of the Teaching Hospital Peradeniya, Dr. Kumudu Bandara, President PEMSA Sri Lanka, Professor Heshan Javira, Mother Sri Lanka is Professor Heshan Javira, President KSM, Professor Samana Nakara, university officials, Deputy Registrar and the Deputy Bursar of the Faculty of Medicine, invited all the other guests, members of the non-academic staff of the faculty, dear students and parents. It gives me a great pleasure to speak at the second annual Research Congress of the Faculty of Medicine, which bears the acronym PEMSARC. This conference has been a very successful catalyst in stimulating interest in research among our medical students, and their response to the staging of these sessions has been overwhelming. I'm grateful to our chief guest, Professor Nimal Senanayake, a pioneering researcher with groundbreaking research, papers published in prestigious journals. His presence is indeed an inspiration and motivation to us, and would undoubtedly inspire interest in our students to engage in research passionately, sir. It's a great pleasure and my pleasant duty to warmly welcome Professor Neelika Malavige as our guest of honor at today's inauguration, as well as the keynote speaker. She is globally recognized as a credible researcher, an internationally eminent researcher, and a credible microbiologist. Her presence here today is indeed an inspiration for students to scale the upper stratum of research, most awaited keynote speaker. This conference actively involves the participation of academic staff, high degree students, and non-academic staff presenting their research on a common platform before a distinguished panel of erudite audience. I extend a very warm welcome to you, all of you, your distinguished presence here today. Although students' research has been an integral part of the academia in our faculty, this discipline has not been given official mainstream recognition. Now, I'm proud to say that for the second year in succession, students have been granted the wonderful opportunity to showcase their research to the entirety of our faculty and wider representation of this entire university and even realms beyond, and also have their work published in Book of Proceedings why the best research papers will be selected for awards. This incentive afforded to students will definitely mold them into research-oriented undergraduates with a spark that ignites the discovery and launch into a good clinical career, which will also prove to be of dividends for their future careers. Our audience will also have the opportunity to listen to research outcomes of the academic staff and the postgraduate students, particularly those who have completed their high degrees, and be appraised of their impactful research that would enrich academia positively. We are proud of our growing number of research projects, publications, and citations, and the global impact created in our respective fields. The due recognition will be bestowed by awarding the Research Excellence Awards to the academic staff. Apart from the award of the PeMSARC Conference Prize for the Best Research Activity and the PeMSA Undergraduate Research Prize, which is being continued and assured by the President PeMSA, Professor Heshan Jayavira, and KSM Undergraduate Research Prize, as proposed by the President KSM 2021, Professor Manjula Atigala, and is bestowed by the current President, Professor Saman Nanayakara. This rich portfolio of prizes on offer will no doubt create healthy competition among the research fraternity and inspire further engagement in eminent vistas of value-added research. We have decided to recognize students who have excelled in academic and extracurricular activities and honor them with faculty awards today. We are not forgetting the recognition of non-academic staff who engage in innovative scientific productions and research. This event has culminated in the passionate effort of many faculty members who have contributed their time and service towards this endeavor immeasurably. The co-chairs of the conference, Dr. Samidhi Navaratna and Professor Duminda Yasaratna, who is not here today with us, the Secretary, Dr. Lakshita Patirana, the Treasurer, Professor Padmini Dahanayaka, Dr. Vasana Kudakamana, Professor Vajiraveer Singh, and Dr. Himani Amaratunga, Professor Manoji Patirage, and Dr. Damsara Nandadeva as Scientific Committee, and Dr. Chamara Dalugam and Dr. Himani Amaratunga as the editors, and Dr. Kesara Ratatunga and Dr. Yasiti Lankasekara as the IT and audiovisuals, all worked tirelessly to stage this conference. Also, I must especially mention my immense appreciation for the students led by the President of the Undergraduate Research Club, Mr. Sachit Karagala. All the committees of this event, the student co-chairs were there with the academic staff. They have played an important pivotal role in organizing this Congress with specific attention to all the aspects, including minor details. Their engagement has been enthusiastic for a job well done, and they have been a good exemplar of responsibility. It has been delightfully inspirational to facilitate their work. I look forward to a productive conference of stimulating and productive research, and with the session, all success. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Madam.
We would now like to cordially invite the Vice Chancellor of University of Peradeniya, Professor M.D. Lamavansha, to address the gathering.
A very good morning to one and all. Professor Nimal Senanayaka, always it is a pleasure, privilege and honor to meet you and also listen to you. Professor Malavige, being an immunologist, despite having low immunity these days and down with viral fever, you are here. Thank you very much for taking all that trouble. And Professor Pinto, you organized this last year, and that was the first time you did it, the faculty. Sorry that I was not able to be here, and so was Madhujit, and we were represented by someone else, but thank you very much for the invitation. And also Samidhi and Lakshika for organizing this event, co-chair and the secretary, who did not spare even a single second to disturb me throughout the organization process. Deputy Vice Chancellor, the other deans, and Council Member Professor Gunawardena, and also the Director PGIMS, Professor Samath Dharmaratna, who has contributed to research output of the faculty, and also who has an immense role to play to take the faculty forward with PGIMS in field of research, and the other academic staff, and Dr. Bandara and colleagues representing Health Ministry, and Professor Samananayakara and Heshan Jayavira, who are wearing different hats today, and students, parents, award winners. Once again, thank you very much for the invitation. I congratulate the award winners, and also there will be winners toward the end of the day depending on their presentations, and best of luck to all of you. I have seen a research conference being organized in other faculties, and we among the deans have discussed this time and again, and to give opportunity and platform for academic staff and the students to present their research. So the Faculty of Medicine has taken it seriously, and you have organized this for the second time. And whatever the central administration has to do to encourage such activities, and we are there for you, for all the faculties. As I said a little while ago, the Faculty of Medicine, of course, has been doing high-end research, and if you look at the contribution of research at the University of Peradeniya for its international ranking, the health sciences plays the largest role, of which, of course, the Faculty of Medicine is in forefront. But there are more work that we can do, and we ought to do. And one of the reasons why we established the Postgraduate Institute of Medical Sciences, which took some years, the teething phase now, you are well established in a sense that it has got all the necessary power and authority to enhance research in a collaborative way between the PGIMS and the Faculty of Medicine, and also beyond that, and especially has been considered a major nidus to propagate research culture in any organization, including what's happening around health effect of climate change. I was talking to Canadian representative yesterday who represent the government, and they have different arm, IDRC, and some of our academic staff, not from medicine, from sociology and artificial intelligence, and they are working with Canadian. There are two things that he said, and he looks after the Asia and also part of the African Union. What he said is, and Peradeniya has got a lot of good potential, and you are trustworthy guys, but you don't make enough links to the potential that you have. That is number one, he said. Number two, he said, you want us to take the message that you are doing well rather than you are showcasing. Those are the two things he said. And the trust that Canadian side has developed on University of Peradeniya, he said, will last for another 20 to 30 years. That is how they work. And there is a certain degree of leverage in conducting research and what you can and you cannot do when there's research grants from these Canadian agencies, unlike other agencies. We at the URC has established a grant promotion sub-office. Some of you are well aware of it. And I'm sure Faculty of Medicine can do more and better by successfully applying for external grants, which is scanty at the moment. We knew 2 years ago that we were going through some trouble period. One of the earliest casualties when we face crisis is in a university is research. So that we, central administration with the deans, took extra effort to prevent downgrading our research activities. And I think we have done this successfully. And we always spoke about, and if there's a dip in research activities, even if the other conditions are restored, and it will take longer, and there will be a longer lag phase for us to come back. But I think we have passed through that phase. For the dear teachers, one of the problems that we are facing is the leaving of some of our academic staff, and you will concentrate more on your academic and the other service, teaching and the service component, but the research could be a casualty. So please bear with us and run through the next year as well, for the next 12 months or so, and then I think we should be all right the way we are, the way things are happening. There are more opportunities now given for us to recruit academic staff. And to streamline the research activities, we worked with the University Research Council, and we have a very good leader there. I know that, and he is working with his sub-officers and also the faculties to propagate. And hitherto what has happened is, both at the central level, the Senate Research Committee and the faculty research committees, we have not been that proactive and was just trying to manage the university research grants. We have gone beyond that, now playing a more proactive role. And also, President Anayaka said that last year and this year we allocated 30 million each for multidisciplinary research and 12 research projects in total with 2.5 million each. The idea behind this is to get together experts from different disciplines in the university and also beyond this university, and also to formulate research groups, and already 2 groups last week did all the spade work at the Research Excellence Showcase event we held at the university, one in sociology, the other one in artificial intelligence. I'm sure some of the work that you do and which I have seen partially going through your abstract book, there is a good potential for you to form 1 or 2 strong research groups which can showcase and even translate later on to a good research center with international repute, like what the Faculty of Medicine has done in the past, thanks to Professor Senanayakam. And we are looking for more facilities, but we know the existence of JRDC, 3 billion worth facility, outright gift by Chinese government. We should be thankful to them. And the facilities are there, equipment are there, very high-end equipment, but we don't use them enough. And we all can go and use those equipment at a very nominal cost to cover the consumable cost. So we will not get something like that again. I request my academic staff, both clinical and preclinical and paraclinical, to use this facility. And the phase 2 is on, and very soon we will be signing the tripartite agreement between the Chinese Academy of Sciences, University of Peradeniya, and the Ministry of Water Supplies and Drainage Board. That will happen most likely during the next month. Coming back to university research profile, one of the widely used and appropriate international ranking system is Times Higher Education ranking. And in that, there are 3 major criteria, that is teaching, research, and citation. Each is being given 30%, constituting 90%, the other 10% of which 7.5 goes to our international outlook, and 2.5%, then that completes the 100%, goes to industry income. When you look at our teaching, out of 100, we get about 10 or 12 marks, which can be improved. They look at the classroom facilities, the teachers with doctorate degrees, and as a ratio of the total teacher population, and also the student-teacher ratio among few other subtopics. Come to research. We have scored only 8 out of 10%, 8 to 10, but that is not good enough. They look at our reputation and the number of publications in high impact factor journals, and also very importantly, per capita research output. That is why all of us needs to contribute at least a minimum of research output for us at the university to get better marks. For citations, thanks to sir, people like you and Samath and so many others here, we get 99 marks out of 100. Very, very, very high marks. That is why we are among the top 5% of world universities right now, according to the Times Higher Education. Certainly, we can do better. I hope we concentrate not just to get our international ranking elevated, but if we do slightly more and better, I'm sure we can beat about another 50 universities. That is my assessment, along with Madhujit, who is working hard to get the university's ranking moving up. At the faculty level, I know that almost all the faculties are now playing an active and a proactive role in promoting research beyond managing university research grants. And the Faculty of Medicine is in the forefront. Professor Vasanthi Pinto, still we can do more to promote research culture in the faculty, and there is a good opportunity to collaborate with the other clinician colleagues who are here. While doing these things, do we have anything else the Faculty of Medicine can do? For example, we know in other labs in the world, there are postdoctoral researchers who can support your research work. So the academics have a lot of other work to do, but we don't have postdoctoral. And isn't it possible that you earn a bit every month, Vasanthi, and you can have 1 or 2 postdoctorals to help the researchers of your faculty? And these are some of the suggestions that have come up during the last 2 months or so. We are discussing how we form or plan ourselves for what the university to be in 2042 when we celebrate our first centenary. There are 2 academic staff members from your faculty and with Professor Vasanthi Pinto contributing to formulate some concept note. And there will be email coming to academic staffs during the next 2-3 days asking for your suggestions and the big ones to plan for 2042. The government is also very keen to listen to University of Peradeniya as to how we want to develop ourselves, not the minute things and the mega development for the University of Peradeniya. And I request you to contribute to that email in the most vigorous way, because that will be an opportunity for us to put all our ideas together and try to convince the incumbent government as to what we would like to be and what we want to be, and how autonomous, to what degree that we want to be autonomous. Professor Vasanthi Pinto and the organizing committee, and ladies and gentlemen, once again, I thank you very much for the invitation. But I'm sorry that I may not be able to be here for the whole morning. But I'm in the office after good 8 or 9 days being away. Thank you very much once again, and all the best for the conference.
Thank you very much, sir. We have a small adjustment in the program for the moment. So now it's the time to recognize our brightest undergraduates, the Faculty Award Ceremony 2023.
The University Grant Commission, also known as the UGC, has recognized the importance of building balanced undergraduates in order to engage with tests and tribulations of professional world ahead them.
In order to recognize and encourage undergraduates to excel in both academics and extracurricular activities, the UGC has invited the faculties to award the faculty awards to students who have excelled in these areas.
Therefore, It's with great pleasure that we invite Professor Manoji Pathirage to the podium to carry on with the proceedings of the award ceremony.
Thank you. I would like to invite the Vice Chancellor, Professor M.D. Lamavansa, to the hand over the faculty awards to the students. So the following awards were selected by the following panel of judges appointed by the Faculty Board of Medicine. Professor Bandula Samarasinghe, Professor Sarachandra Kodikada, Professor Manoji Pathirage, Professor Ruan Jayasinghe, and Professor Shyam Barnahekar. Right. So the Faculty Awards 2023 to 1920 batch, Miss T.A. Valavage obtained a first class at the second MBBS with distinctions in anatomy, physiology, and biochemistry, winning championships at national level and university level for debating and performance in the aesthetic fields, being a member of the champion team of CARAM at the faculty level. Next, Mr. T.D.J. Melaka obtained a second class upper division at the second MBBS, winning awards at national level and university level for debating, winning awards at the university level for comparing. (16-17) batch, Ms. S.M. Hettiarachchi, for academic excellence at the third MBBS level, obtaining a first class with a GPA of 4 and distinctions in parasitology, pharmacology, microbiology, pathology, community medicine, and forensic medicine, winning awards for chess at international, national, and faculty levels with full colors for chess in the years 2018 and 2021, and being the captain of the university women's chess team, participating and winning championships in debating at national level, presenting research at international and national level. Ms. K.A. M.J. Karyavasam, Ms. K.A. M.J. Karyavasam, obtaining a first class at third MBBS level with distinctions in pathology, pharmacology, parasitology, microbiology, community medicine, and forensic medicine, and engaging in sports at the university level, literacy awards, and awards for drawing at the university level. Mr. K.A.D.C.K. Atukorala, for obtaining first class at the third MBBS level with distinctions in parasitology, microbiology, and community medicine, for his extracurricular activities related to community service and for displaying leadership qualities. Ms. J.B.K. Udapamanua, obtaining a first class at third MBBS level with distinctions in parasitology, pharmacology, microbiology, and community medicine, winning awards at national and university levels for swimming and performances in aesthetic fields, for leadership skills, and presenting research at national and faculty levels. Ms. N.W.T.S.K. Neelavathura, obtaining a first class at the third MBBS level with distinctions in parasitology, pharmacology, pathology, microbiology, and community medicine, and extracurricular activities related to aesthetic activities and presenting research at university level. From 15-16 batch, Mr. P.A. Abekon, obtaining a first class in the final MBBS with distinctions in medicine, surgery, obstetrics and gynecology and psychiatry, and winning the university prize for academic excellence, Perry Exhibition Prize for Best Performance at Final MBBS Examination, Rockwood Gold Medal for Surgery, Manikbai Dadaboy Gold Medal for Midwifery, Naomi Thagaraja Memorial Prize for Midwifery, H.M. Pires Prize for Obstetrics and Gynecology, Kingsley De Silva Prize for Obstetrics and Gynecology, H.S. Kirti Singha Endowment A.C. Fernando Prize in Surgery, and also for the following outstanding extracurricular performances, participating and winning at the international and national levels in tennis, with obtaining university full colors for tennis in the years 2017, 19, 20, and half colors in 2018, solo singing at the international level and playing piano and singing at the university level, winning awards for drama, English speech, announcing, narration, and debating at university and national levels, for community services during COVID-19 pandemic and many other activities, presenting a research paper at an international conference, and showing a leadership qualities in tennis, the University Sports Council, and Buddhist Brotherhood Society. Ms. Y.M.U.W. Karunaratna, obtaining a first class in the final MBBS with distinctions in medicine, surgery, pediatrics, and psychiatry, with Dandishaw Dadaboy Gold Medal for medicine at the final MBBS examination, and also the following extracurricular activities: being a member and vice captain of the netball team at the national level and faculty level, and obtaining half colors in netball in the year 2019, winning aesthetic competition in solo singing, instrumentals, and poetry, acting at faculty and national level, competing at many events at faculty and national level, winning first place in national level quiz competitions and debating competitions, publishing research in national and international journals, presenting papers at national and international level. Mr. I.S. Kotalavala, obtaining first class in the final MBBS with distinctions in medicine, surgery, pediatrics, and psychiatry, and in winning the Vidyajyoti Emeritus Professor Nima Senanaka Gold Medal for excellence in clinical medicine, University Prize for academic excellence, while being a part of the winning team in rugby, football, and at national and faculty level, obtaining half colors in 2017 and full colors in 2019 for rugby, showing leadership skills at the university level, and taking parts in quizzes at national level. That is the end of the faculty awards for today, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you and congratulations to all winners.
Now is the time to recognize our accomplished academic researchers. The Academic Staff Research Excellence Award Ceremony 2023.
The Academic Staff Research Excellence Awards celebrates and honors the outstanding research achievements of our dedicated academic staff members.
Therefore, it's with great pleasure that we invite Professor Fasiha Noordin to the podium to carry on with the proceedings of the award ceremony.
Good morning. I would like to cordially invite Professor Nima Senanaka to award the Scientific Publication Awards for the staff members. The Faculty Research Committee appointed the Faculty Research Excellence Award in 2014 in compliance with the program evaluation to come in 2019. So with that initiative, we have been awarding the staff members the Scientific Research Publication Awards since 2014. So today we are here to present the award for papers published in 2022 by the staff members in scientific journals of impact of over 1 and also with the Faculty of Medicine affiliation. We have not awarded the award for papers published as abstracts and also papers reposited in repositories. With that said, today's awardees are Professor Samath Dharmaratna for papers published in 2022. Professor K.A.S. Kodikara for papers published in 2022. Professor W.D.S.G. Vikramasinghe for a paper published in 2022. Professor Fasiha Noordin for papers published in 2022. Then Professor S.T. Kudagamana for papers published in 2022. Professor W.D.M.T.L. Dasanayaka for papers published in 2022. Professor D.M.G. Fernando for papers published in 2022. Professor V.L.C. Lianapathirana for papers published in 2022. Professor A.N. Vadisinghe for papers published in 2022. Dr. W.M.S.N. Navaratna for papers published in 2022. Dr. D.A. Gunawardena for papers published in 2022. Dr. D.R.K.C. Disanayaka for papers published in 2022. Dr. V.K.I.U. Alvis for papers published in 2022. Dr. C.U. Vikramasinghe for papers published in 2022. There are 3 staff members that are receiving the awards in absentia. Professor B.M.G.D. Yasaratna, Professor C.D. Gamage, Professor C.N. Ratnatunga for publishing papers in 2022, and they are not here, so we are awarding in absentia. And with this, we conclude the staff awards for the Faculty of Medicine for papers published in 2022. Thank you.
Thank you. And congratulations to all the awardees.
It's our pleasure to now invite Dr. Samidhi Navaratna to introduce our chief guest for PeMSARC'23. Meanwhile, we kindly request the esteemed members of the head table to please take seats among our audience.
Vidya Jyoti Kala Shiromani Professor Nimal Senanayaka, MD, PhD, DSc, FRCP, Emeritus Professor, University of Peradeniya, Consultant Physician, Neurologist. It is an honor indeed to introduce you, sir. Professor Nimal Senanayaka is a true luminary in the field of medicine, an advocate for the advancement of knowledge, and a multifaceted individual whose interests span far beyond the realms of academia. His illustrious journey in the world of medicine commenced here at the Peradeniya Medical Faculty, where he emerged as a shining star, graduating with honors, distinctions, 2 gold medals in 1970, setting the stage for a brilliant career ahead. With a thirst for knowledge that knew no bounds, Professor Senanayaka continued to excel in his academic pursuits. He obtained his MD Ceylon in 1974, further enhancing his medical expertise. Subsequently, he obtained membership at the Royal College of Physicians, UK in 1975, solidifying his reputation as a highly accomplished physician. In addition, he holds the fellowship of the American Academy of Neurology, Royal Society of Biology London, and Ceylon College of Physicians. He is also a member of many other prestigious academic and professional bodies, including the Association of British Neurologists, the British Society for Clinical Neurophysiology, the World Federation of Neurology, and the Asian Oceanian Epilepsy Organization. Professor Senanayaka has held esteemed positions and received numerous accolades throughout his career. He has served as the chairperson of the Board of Study in Medicine at the Postgraduate Institute of Medicine, University of Colombo, President of the Sri Lanka Medical Association, and the President of the Kandy Society of Medicine. Professor Senanayaka embarked on his academic career as a lecturer in medicine at the Faculty of Medicine, University of Peradeniya in 1973, and steadily climbed the academic ladder, achieving successive merit promotions to become a senior lecturer, associate professor, professor, and ultimately senior professor. He retired in May 2013 after over 40 years of university service. As a mentor, he played a pivotal role in nurturing promising clinicians and scientists. He rendered his services as a visiting scientist at the National Institute of Health, USA from 1990 to 1991. One of the most notable aspects of Professor Senanayaka's illustrious career is his groundbreaking research in the fields of epilepsy and neurotoxicology. His pioneering work in these areas earned him a PhD from the University of Nijmegen in the Netherlands and a Doctor of Science from the University of Peradeniya. Notably, his research on organophosphate-delayed neuropathy and the intermediate syndrome was initially published as original articles in the New England Journal of Medicine, with one of his papers becoming a citation classic and garnering over 500 citations. His dedication to medical research is evident in his extensive list of publications. With over 120 publications in national and international journals and presenting over 250 papers at medical congresses, both locally and on international stages, Professor Senanayake has been a tireless disseminator of knowledge, contributing to the cross-pollination of ideas and new evidence within the medical fraternity. His expertise as an orator is equally remarkable, having delivered 15 orations, including the prestigious Sri Lanka Medical Association oration on 4 separate occasions. These orations have not only served as platforms to showcase his expertise, but have also inspired and educated generations of medical professionals. In the realm of academia, his influence can be found within the pages of medical textbooks, with over 25 chapters authored by him. His role as a co-editor in Epilepsy in the Tropics, the first monograph of its kind, underscores his dedication to scholarship. He has authored over 20 books on medical themes, catering not only to fellow professionals, but also to the lay public. Professor Senanayake's dedication to his profession has earned him recognition on national and international platforms. He holds the title of Ambassador for Epilepsy, bestowed upon him by the International League Against Epilepsy and the International Bureau for Epilepsy, making him the 5th Asian to receive this esteemed honor. His numerous accolades include the National Award for Scientific Achievement, a testament to his outstanding contributions to the world of medicine. In addition to his medical pursuits, Professor Senanayake has ventured into the realms of literature and arts. He is a prolific author of non-medical books and a scriptwriter, having scripted several television dramas and documentaries aired nationally. Notably, the teledrama Alle Langawalawa, first broadcast in 1988, showcases his talent for weaving medical themes into gripping narratives. In every facet of his career, Professor Nima Senanayake has exhibited an unwavering commitment to advancing the frontiers of medicine, education, and public understanding. His extensive body of work serves as a testament to his enduring legacy as a true luminary in the field of medicine and an inspiration for all who aspire to make a meaningful impact in the world of healthcare and medical research. We are truly privileged to have him as our chief guest today. Thank you.
It's the PEMSARC, is it?
The PEMSARC, I think. Good morning. Thank you very much for those very kind words. The Vice Chancellor, sir, Madam Dean, Professor Neelika Malavige, Chairman and the members of the PeMSARC', colleagues, students, ladies and gentlemen. Well, first of all, I thank you for this invitation to be here, which I obviously, which is an important event now in the Peradeniya medical faculty. And as I have mentioned in my message, it's another milestone. Now, thinking back about my student days, I remember doing a research project with Professor Panabokke. But of course, it was not compulsory, and then I don't think anything much came out of that. But then, thereafter, in the early 70s, it was Professor Varagunam who made research a part of the medicine appointment, and we gave a certain percentage of marks to the students based on the research project, and also the best research projects were honored at this at the same physiology lecture theatre those days. I don't know what happened, whether that continued or whether what happened to that thereafter. Anyway, I was told that the students are they like to hear something about my research. So I thought rather than giving the usual guest, rather chief guest address, I thought I will sort of continue the next, say about half an hour, to tell you about at least some of the research I had done. Now, let me ask this question: why do you do research? Why does anybody does research? I thought of a few reasons, just jotted those there. Maybe a need for a degree, points for promotions, the next KSM session, forced by the boss or a friend, because others do. Money, of course, I have put that within brackets. I hope it's not applicable here, but anyway, I'm sure there are people who do research for money. I mean, okay, you get a good grant, and then, of course, you get a certain percentage out of that as remuneration. So I think, but anyway, that should not, in my mind, that should not be the objective of doing research. So now, this first points, these first few I had listed, I don't think, when looking back on my work, I don't think any of these things really apply to me, because there was no need for a degree or any promotion. So I think these things just came. But I think it's the last one, which is the inherent inquisitive mind. I think which all researchers should have, and also particularly in the clinical fields, all clinicians should have that inquisitive mind. When I say inherent, it is not necessarily inherited. It is something you can cultivate, I am sure. So I think with these objectives, let's see how, well, this is what Louis Pasteur said: to be astonished at anything is the first movement of the mind towards discovery. So I think I think this is what we should cultivate, because I think here many of us are clinicians, and then the students also, I think the very large majority will become clinicians. Now, first thing is, how do you get a research idea? It may be a problem encountered in clinical practice. An idea incubated for years, maybe from your student days, and then you get into the right unit, and then you begin to work on that, or join an ongoing research project, or ask the boss if you can't work it out yourself. Then what should be the sort of features of a good research project, or the research, when you research plan? To begin with, it should be original. You might call it novel or creative, because well, I think we still see people doing research. Okay, it was done in England, and let's do it here, or it's sort of done in Colombo, and let's do it here. I mean, I don't say that these are not important, but I think they are not all that original, because of course, sometimes you might find out some important geographic differences in disease pattern. So I think, therefore, I don't say they are not important, but not truly original. And the other one, I don't know whether people still do CAP studies, that is knowledge, attitude, and practices. This came into practice, I think, about 30, 40 years ago, and it was very popular. I mean, fairly easy. You form a questionnaire and give it to the public or patients, and then see what the attitude and knowledge about a particular illness. But again, that, as I say, it's not all that original. Then, and these first two, I think you can, if you do it with a real objective, I think then it becomes valuable. Yeah, and even CAP studies where you plan to do something depending on what you find, and then you take some action. I think then, of course, that's important. The other one is clinical audits. Now, I think, each unit should do clinical audits, but I don't think they are really, amount to research as such, because I remember once in a particular clinic, it was, the paper was that he could not do blood sugar in all the patients with diabetic patients. So, that is something for the local consumption, but not particularly as a research project. Then the next thing is, it should be practical or achievable in terms of time. For instance, now if you have only 1 year or half a year in a particular unit, and if your project involves 3 years of work, so obviously that is not practical. Then also it should be practical in terms of test subjects and material. That is, when you must plan how many test subjects you need, and suppose you need 500 test subjects, or let's say patients, but if you know that you can get only about 50 in a month, in a year, then I think that is it's not going to be practical. And also, in terms of resources, do we have all the facilities? Now, even if you have facilities like, say, MRI, for instance, now it's available here, but I don't think the radiology department will let you perform, say, 100 MRI scans just for your research, because unless, of course, as a clinician, of course, if you request something because that benefits the patient need that, then of course that's different. But I think just for the sake of research, I don't think that is justified. So therefore, I think all these you have to manage. You must see whether it's practical when you select a project. Then the next thing is it should be scientific, or you might call rational, logical, meaningful. Well, there are two ways of doing it. Okay, you start with observation, and then having made your observation, having got your data, then you find an explanation. That means evidence and then hypothesis. On the other hand, you might start on the other side. That is, you start with a hypothesis and then look for evidence. Both these, of course, should come to a conclusion. Now looking at my research, I must say that I think they come in the first category, where I make the observation first and then look for explanation. And then, having arrived at a conclusion, the next question you ask is, so what? I mean, what is the relevance of your findings? Should be relevant to you, to the community or country, the region or the world, practice of medicine or science and science. Now, I think you can look back and see how many of these apply to the research you have done, because it might be more than one. I think at more than one level it can operate. I think more areas are covered, I think then it becomes more important. Then another feature I think of is interdisciplinary or multidisciplinary hybrid. That means it should be in accordance with the research policy for the institution or for the country or the region. I think that should be another feature, hybrid kind of research which yield better results than that these days particularly. Say 40 years ago it was different, but now I think something that you do in collaboration with your colleagues, say in the medical faculty with other departments, I think those are likely to produce better results that can create an impact at even an international level. Then your project should be ethical in terms of patients, test subjects, or material. That's obvious. I mean, the patients and also your material you use. I think you can't just spend even money or say resources. You can't because unless it's going to serve a purpose. Then it should be also this fair by the ethical by the other researchers, because sometimes you might do something that really clash. I don't mean that, I mean, okay, you can have healthy competition, that is all right, but something that clashes or which might interfere with somebody else's research or somebody else's work, I think that is not really good practice, and same goes for colleagues. So really it should be ethical. Of course, now every institution now has ethical committee. Of course, here I must say that the ethical committee should work to facilitate research, not just to make a rubber stamp or to sponsor a particular project, but I think should do more than that, where you work on let the researcher get some feedback of what he has presented, and then decide on the final verdict. Then research two basic ways, that is, one is descriptive research, the other one is interventional. I think this is very fundamental thing when it comes to research. Now, interventional is you where you introduce a particular factor from outside and then you see the effect of that on your test subjects. I mean, in clinical practice, I think that's say, trying out a new drug. I mean, that's a very good example. Now, this year, you have to have double-blind control trials and to be really valid. The other one is descriptive, because most of my research, I think, are in that category, descriptive ones. It may be a case, coincidence, or series. These are kind of a thing that goes around in clinicians who do research. At least it's used to. Said single patient is a case, 2 patients, that is coincidence, 3 or more, that's a series. Anyway, now let me take one example. Now this is Peradeniya Teaching Hospital, the intensive care unit. As you can see, the patient is fairly ill and requiring artificial ventilation. Now this, the time would have been around the year, I think, about 1986 or so. The story was this. Now, this is a patient who had insecticide poisoning. He had, I think with suicidal intent, he had taken an insecticides. It was methambidophosph, if I remember right. And then, of course, then he had a fairly severe cholinergic crisis, which was managed the usual way with atropine and pralidoxime. And the patient improved, and he was now about the 3rd or the 4th day, he was getting ready to go home. But then suddenly, in the middle of the night, he gets respiratory failure. He becomes dyspneic, respiratory failure. Patient is immediately taken to the intensive care unit and managed accordingly. I saw the patient the next day, and then when I saw this patient, struck me that, in fact, I remember seeing similar patients earlier from time to time, but probably nobody sort of really paid attention to those because, okay, we thought, okay, might be some electrolyte imbalance or whatever. But then I thought, no, I think this time I must do a thorough examination. So I did a neurological examination. Now, this is something that doesn't usually happen with poisoning patients. I don't think you bother to do a neurological examination, but here I did. And I was struck by the fact that patients, the external ocular movements were impaired or very much restricted. Of course, as you know, a patient who is who is in a coma due to brainstem compression can develop these changes, but it was patient was really not in a coma, but it just sort of drowsy. But anyway, I left it at that the first day, and then during the next 3-4 days, I continued to examine the patient in detail. The next day, when the patient was conscious and able to sit up and was off the ventilator, I was able to do a more thorough neurological examination. Now, here I see the restriction of eye movements, they persisted in all directions, abduction, adduction, elevation, depression. And then not only that, there were other cranial nerve innervated muscles that seemed to be weak. The fifth nerve, the jaw opening, it was weak. And the facial weakness, bilateral. Now, I must tell the students that, you see, as you probably know, that unilateral facial weakness is very easy to detect. I think anybody should be able to do that. But when it's bilateral, it becomes a little tricky. You need a bit of more practice and experience. But this patient had bilateral facial weakness. And this, I asked the patient to raise the head of the pillow, but he can't do that. The neck flexion is weak. Then coming to the limbs, his hand grip was quite normal, there was no problem, but then the proximal muscles, proximal at the shoulder abduction, that was weak. So this was a particular distribution, cranial muscles, neck flexion, and proximal weakness of the muscles, of the limbs. And then, of course, in another week or so, I got another patient, and then, of course, some more during the next 10 months or so. Now, these are something I have noticed that when I become interested in a particular kind of problem or a patient, I tend to get these patients I tend to collect these fairly fast. I don't know whether it's luck or the fact that I now keep an alert mind and then look for these patients, whatever the reason. Anyway, I was able to gather about 10 or more, but anyway, we selected 10 patients here. So during the next, within a short period, because those days, organophosphorus insecticide poisoning was quite common. I don't know how it is now. So these are the features. As you can see, I have given listed here the chemicals that caused the weakness or the initial poisoning. That is largely, as you can see, phenthyon appears in most of these places and a few other compounds. And the age, the time of onset of this particular weakness is given there. That is, as you can see, it's anyway less 2 days to about less than 10 days. But the median, the median was something like 3 or 4 days. And then the cranial nerves, as I described, the third, fourth, fifth, and seventh neck flexion. In addition to this weakness, and the patient obviously had respiratory weakness. It was obvious in the first patient, but anyway, everybody didn't have this respiratory weakness. Everybody didn't become dyspneic, but some of them had respiratory failure requiring intermittent positive pressure ventilation. And then the duration of the weakness, as you can see, it lasted about 10 days or so, or 10 or 15 days. And you can ignore the other additional features. So this was the clinical picture of, and there's a certain pattern. Particularly the interesting thing was the distribution of the weakness of muscles: cranial, neck flexion, proximal limb muscles. Yeah, cranial muscles, neck flexion, proximal limb muscles, and respiratory muscles. So this reminds what Claude Bernard said about scientific discovery, is seeing something that anyone has seen and thinking of something that no one has thought. I think, I'm sure these clinicians before me, I think would have seen this, because by that time the organophosphorus insecticides were in practice for 10-20 years. So it should have been there, but I don't think anybody really took much notice of that. Then we did the literature search. Now this, as you can see, it's the usually when you plan a project, of course, it's other way around. You start with a research, literature search, but here I did the literature search at this point. Then there weren't many publications, actually hardly any. There was something that interested us. Dr. R.S. Wadia from India had described what he called type 1 and type 2 neuropathy after opiate poisoning in man. Of course, he sort of attributed this particular weakness. It had certain similarity with the patients I had described in those 10 patients, but he didn't really give much emphasis. I mean, he said it's not just type 1, type 2 neuropathy, and he left it at that, and he published that in an Indian medical journal. Then when I say we, it is with Dr. Karliad. He was the consultant anesthetist at that time. So I told that we are now on to something. I think we must investigate this further, and then further literature search. And we looked at rat experiments. By the way, I must tell the student that there was no internet those days, so it's not that easy to find references. You just now, of course, within 5 minutes you can get what you want, but those days you had to go to the library and you had to go through that huge book, what is called the Index Medicus, and we found anyway, and also over so many years, and we found just one project or one study that interested us. That is rat experiment where OP-induced rats developed muscle necrosis at the neuromuscular junction about the 3rd or the 4th day. So this was this we thought was important. Then I thought, now considering the clinical picture of this patient, it is not a neuropathy, by the way, because it has no other features of neuropathy. The tendon reflexes are unremarkable. There's no sensory loss. There's nothing to say it's a neuropathy. But then I thought this must be a lesion at the neuromuscular junction that is corresponding with what the researchers found in animal experiments. So we did the very basic EMG studies. We didn't have Professor Vajra Veerasinghe those days, so we had to just do. Well, I did of course the tetanic stimulation of muscles, and then found that it showed a myasthenic pattern. Then we thought that this, what we have seen, is the clinical counterpart of the animal experiments. Then I told Lakshman, I think we have got enough data material to write this up and then send it to a journal. I suggested that we send it to the New England Journal of Medicine, which is supposed to be the most prestigious medical journal. So I think you have to always aim high, otherwise you don't get that. Lakshman was a little hesitant, but anyway, he said nothing lost, we'll try. And we wrote this, and of course we couriered. As you can see again, there is no way of submitting it through the internet those days. We are never thought of those. And then, to our delight and surprise, within a week, we got a letter, in fact couriered, from the New England Journal of Medicine, saying that we are willing to publish your paper. There are a few points we like to discuss. Would you like to call us at this particular time? So again, no hand phone. So we had to. I went to the Candy post office, booked a long distance call, and then I went to Dr. Karalia's place, And then at the right time, we managed to get the call, and when we contacted one of the editors. And then there were a few clarification, and then they say, that's fine, okay. And then within 2-3 weeks, in the next available journal, in the next available issue, it came up. That's not only that it appeared in the New England Journal of Medicine, but it came as the very first original article in that issue. Then we called it the intermediate syndrome. So before, in fact, I forgot to tell you that, before sending it to the New England Journal of Medicine, we had to baptize this, you had to give a name, because if you don't give a name to something like this, something that is worthwhile, it is probably, it won't have the same impact. So the first thing that came to, I said, okay, this is intermediate syndrome. I'll tell you in a minute why I call this the intermediate syndrome. So when you sent to the journal, we had given this particular name, intermediate syndrome. Not only that it came in the New England Journal of Medicine, there was a review, there was an editorial by a respected emeritus professor in the United States who wrote an editorial on this, giving the value or the applicability and the value of this particular finding. Then let me tell you why we called it the intermediate syndrome. Why syndrome? Because it's a complex of symptoms and signs. By definition, a syndrome is a complex of symptoms and signs which may have more than one etiology. So I think this fits in because there is a collection of signs and symptoms. They have put the syndrome part. Then why intermediate? Because this happened on the time scale after the cholinergic crisis and before the development of the delayed polyneuropathy. Now, so that's, therefore, we call it the intermediate syndrome. Now, I'll tell you what this, just to remind you, I said it's a syndrome. This particular weakness, the pattern of weakness you get, you call it the myasthenic syndrome. And you can get, as you know, obviously, myasthenia gravis, Lambert-Eaton syndrome, snake envenoming, other natural toxins, and also electrolyte embolism. There are so many, several other causes that can cause myasthenic syndrome. So this, I think we added organophosphate insecticide into that. Now, this is the OPIDP, or the organophosphorus-induced delayed polyneuropathy. Now, this again was not something known, say, 10, 15 years ago. Here again, I found in Kandy, people who are severely poisoned with organophosphate insecticides develop a muscle weakness. In fact, now here it's a peripheral neuropathy because it's a distal weakness and loss of tendon reflexes and so on. So there was no, clinically there was no difficulty at all to say that this is a neuropathy. But then, of course, this relationship, time relationship, insecticide poisoning, acute cholinergic crisis, I don't think they really had an intermediate syndrome as such. And then this onset of neuropathy, which was quite different from the other type of weakness that I described in intermediate syndrome. Now, these are the features of how does this differ from the intermediate syndrome? In OP-induced delayed polyneuropathy, the cranial nerves are spared, cranial nerve muscles are spared. The neck flexion is spared. Instead of proximal muscle, the distal muscles are involved. Respiratory failure is not present, it's spared. Respiratory muscles are spared. There might be some sensory abnormalities, not necessarily, but usually it's a motor polyneuropathy. And the other thing is, other difference is that these people are left with some residual weakness most of the time. Whereas, fortunately, the intermediate syndrome, if they get over the period of respiratory failure, I think they make quite a normal recovery. This is another example. Of course, in this instance, it's not an insecticide, but another organophosphate called triorthocrysyl phosphate that produced a similar kind of delayed polyneuropathy that I just described, following gingerly oil poisoning. Anyway, that's an interesting story. We'll have to keep it for another day because I don't think there is time to go into that. But I just showed this slide because this is it was well recognized as a delayed complication of organophosphorus insecticide poisoning. So then, what is the relevance of the intermediate? I told that whatever the research you do should have some relevance. Why should you publish the relevance? Well, I think it's obvious that in developing agricultural countries, the importance of that I don't have to emphasize because you had to look for these patients. You must keep this in mind and not to discharge, particularly if the patient had a fairly severe cholinergic crisis, not to discharge the patient in a hurry in a day or two, but I think observe the patient for 4-5 days, I would advise, just to make sure that he does not develop intermediate syndrome and the respiratory failure. Now, don't think this is only a problem for the developing countries. It's in developed countries also. There is it's used in agriculture. In fact, on a large scale, they do aerial spraying and so on. You say in the States, so it's relevant there. But why did the New England Journal of Medicine was so interested in our paper and then sort of picked it up and published as quickly as possible? I think the reason was nerve gases, because as you know, there were nerve gases which were organophosphates like soman and sarin. So then there was always a threat of chemical warfare, although of course United States, they claim that they never use chemical warfare, but leave it at that. But there's a threat that there might be chemical warfare and use of nerve gases. So I think that is the reason, I think, why the developed countries were so much interested in this particular finding. Then, not only that, it is relevant in its medicine and science, because in the medical field, as I told you, it's in the management of OP poisoning. I told you the implication of it. And then applied sciences. Now, the next thing is to delineate the pathophysiology in a more definitive way. So I think this is, in fact, there have been many studies afterwards from different parts of the country studying this, the effect of organophosphates, and they were trying to look for the pathophysiology. Anyway, I think still there is scope, I think, something for the medical students to think about that, when they get the opportunity to do further studies. And I would suggest, say, future research to, say, electromicroscopic studies of the neuromuscular junction to delineate the structural changes, if any, in a more detailed manner. Okay, so I think that's the story I want to tell you. I think let's get back to the, just to recapitulate what I have been telling you about the features of good research. It should be relevant, scientific, ethical, achievable, realistic, creative, and hybrid. Okay. Thank you very much. Once again, thank you for inviting me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. We now invite Professor Vasanthi Pinto to present the token of appreciation to our chief guest, Professor Nimal Senanayake.
Thank you, madam. And dear sir and madam, please kindly remain on the stage for a moment. We now invite our esteemed dignitaries to take their seats at the head table once again to continue with our program.
We would now like to cordially invite Mr. Sachit Karagala, the student chairperson of PeMSARC'23, to address the gathering.
Vice Chancellor, Deputy Vice Chancellor in absentia, our esteemed chief guest, Emeritus Professor Nimal Senanayake, our keynote speaker. I get this problem often. Our keynote speaker, Professor Neelika Malavige, invited deans, our patron, the Dean, Professor Vasanthi Pinto, esteemed guests, the Executive Committee of PeMSARC'23, academic staff members, non-academic staff members, and parents, faculty award winners, and my fellow colleagues. I am rather privileged to address you as the student chair of this conference. Last year, on 30th September 2022, our faculty embarked on a new journey with the inception of the first ever Peradeniya Medical School Annual Research Conference, and it gives me pride that I was a junior member right here, and it gives me even more pride that I rose up the ladder to become the student chair at this year's conference. PeMSARC provides a platform for our students to go that extra mile in addition, and to make sure that each student has the opportunity to face a research conference and to inspire them, motivate them, and most importantly, encourage them to pursue and love research, no matter what clinical career we embark on in later life. We are extremely thankful to the administration, including our Vice Chancellor, who was present in the morning, for providing the necessary policies and incentives for student research, for giving us the opportunity to go that extra mile. And the second PeMSARC conference packs a lineup of speakers that achieves this goal, with Professor Emeritus Nimal Senanayake, someone whose research we do see in the slides of our lectures and in our textbooks. So it's really an honor to see you in person at this very conference. And Professor Neelika Malavige, who has achieved a scientific celebrity status in social media, especially among the youth demographic of my fellow colleagues during the COVID-19 pandemic, and is Sri Lanka's one of top researchers. And we do sincerely hope that just like the legends of the past and the legends of the present, this conference will pave way to make forward for the legends of the future, which I do hope are seated at the back of this very lecture hall. PeMSARC is unique in the way that it allows students and staff to temporarily surpass that invisible barrier that separates us and work in tandem, work in cooperation, and work on an equal standing in all aspects of organizing a scientific conference, from the editorial to the logistical part to even the entertainment items. And thus, we are very thankful for this opportunity. And last but not least, I remember that Dean Madam praised the student exco a lot as well, but I think a lot of credit should go as well to the people behind the screens, behind the stages, in the corridors, the students that toiled day and night, who made me a successful chairperson, who made me a proud chairperson, to make this conference a success. And as your chair, I have immense gratitude for all of you. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please do enjoy today's proceedings as our undergraduates will present their debut research towards a productive conference. As Professor Nimal Senanayake said in his address as the chief guest, he started his career as a medical student, and I hope that many will start their careers today as medical students as well. As they say, a journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Here's to that single step. Best of luck, everyone, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sachit.
We now invite Dr. Kirti Disanayake, the Director of the Research and Development Division at the Faculty of Medicine, Peradeniya, to introduce the guest of honor and the keynote speaker for PeMSARC 2023, Professor Neelika Malavige.
Good morning, everybody. I'm deeply honored to introduce the keynote speaker of PeMSARC 2023, Professor Neelika Malavige. Professor Neelika Malavige, MBBS, MRCP, AFHEA, DPhil, FRCP, FRCPath. Professor Neelika Malavige is a professor of the Department of Immunology and Molecular Medicine, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura, and an academic visitor at the MRC Weatherall Institute of Molecular Medicine, University of Oxford. She also serves as the head of the Global Dengue Program at Drugs for Neglected Diseases Initiative since July 2022. She is a member of the Executive Committee of the International Society of Infectious Diseases since 2020. Professor Malavige graduated from the University of Colombo with the first class and several gold medals. Subsequently, she carried out her doctoral studies at the Weatherall Institute of Molecular Medicine, University of Oxford, which was funded by a Commonwealth scholarship. She was elected as the Fellow of the Royal College of Physicians in London in 2015, and the Royal College of Pathologists in the same year, and the National Academy of Sciences of Sri Lanka in 2022. Professor Malavige leads a large research group working on dengue and COVID-19, focusing on immunopathogenesis of and vascular leak in dengue and translating these findings into clinical trials. She served as an expert member of several government COVID-19 related technical advisory groups on public health response, control strategies, vaccine evaluation, regulation, and vaccine deployment strategies. Professor Neelika has secured many Sri Lankan and international grants for her work on dengue and COVID-19. She has published extensively based on her research work on dengue, COVID-19, and several other infectious diseases. To date, her work has been published in several prestigious index journals and secured she has published over 80 publications in prestigious index journals and secured over 4,700 citations to date. Having an H index of 35 and an I-10 index of 78 further verifies her research excellence. She has won several national and international awards for her work. Joseph Nallaya Arumugam Memorial Award at the Final MBBS in 2000, CVCD Excellence Award for for the Best Young Research in 2008, the prestigious S.C. Paul Oration and the Gold Medal from Sri Lankan Medical Association in 2011, the third World Academy Science Young Scientist Award in 2012, the Zonta Award for her remarkable achievements in the field of medicine in 2014, the Best Researcher Award from the University of Sri Jayawardhanapura in 2015, the Inspirational Woman for her research work on COVID-19 at the Top 50 Professional and Career Women Awards in 2020 are just some of the awards that she had secured. Professor Malavigi has delivered many orations, including prestigious Professor P.B. Fernando Memorial Oration of the Ceylon College of Physicians in 2014 and the SLM Oration in 2017. She has a strong research collaborations with University of Oxford, and her laboratory is a part of the A2CARES, that stands for the Asian American Centers for Arbovirus Research and Enhanced Surveillance, which is one of the Centers for Research in Emerging Infectious Diseases, NIH, USA. Now, with great honor and privilege, I invite Professor Neelika Malavige to deliver the PeMSARC 2023 keynote speech. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that introduction, and thank you, Professor Vasanthi Pinto, for inviting me here. Vice Chancellor, Professor Nimal Senanayaka, all other distinguished guests, and dear students. I am most honored to be here today talking about, at your second PeMSARC conference. So today I'll be talking about, can we do impactful research in Sri Lanka? And I think the reason I chose to talk about that is not just because this is a research conference, but all of us are looking towards a more developed Sri Lanka. So I mean, I'm just showing pictures of Korea today, but if you look at pictures of Singapore, Malaysia, any other Southeast Asian country, or many other countries, you will see a similar picture. From 1960s to now, where those countries have developed. And we dream of our country being like that one day, not in like several years, like when we are dead, but very fast. I mean, this is what we all want. And because of the lack of it, is that we see so many young people migrate, okay? And I hope young people sitting here would not migrate, but make this a reality. So now what is stopping us achieving this? Okay, so now if you look at how South Korea, Singapore, all these countries develop, one of the main things behind it is research and innovation. So why do we lack research and innovation? Okay, I mean, we lack infrastructure, funding for research, okay, and of course limited manpower. So why is that? Of course, everybody will say because of our politicians. I completely agree with you, okay? But this is, I'm not here to talk about because of our politicians, okay? I mean, one day maybe we can change things, but apart from the lack of infrastructure, the lack of funding, and the existing resources, can we do better? And are there things that we can change? Now, if we look at, over time, in the last 100 years, the best scientific discoveries globally. I mean, discovery of penicillin by Alexander Fleming, a great physician. Then discovery of X-rays, vaccines, the germ theory. I mean, most of them were discovered by great physicians like our Professor Nimal Senanayaka, who just elaborated how he discovered and named the intermediate syndrome. And if you look at the Nobel Prizes, okay, that were awarded during the last, from 2016, discovery of mechanisms of autophagy, discovery of molecular mechanisms of circadian rhythms, cancer therapy, how cells sense and adapt to oxygen availability, so on. Will we see individuals in Sri Lanka getting a Nobel Prize? And is it because we don't have money? And is there some way that we can change this. Okay, so this is basically what I want to talk about. And just to give a disclaimer initially that what I express are my own thoughts, and sorry if I offend anybody. So first of all, now the topics I showed you sounds a very little bit too scientific, right? I mean, after all, I am basically talking to a very clinician and medical student audience. So all those Nobel Prizes and discoveries, I mean, way beyond you, right? I mean, very scientific. Is it that doctors or clinicians do not engage in basic science research? Now, good, I've just put up some pictures here. Okay, the slide hasn't moved. Okay, let me just move the slide. Okay, just selected people from universities like Oxford, Stanford, Harvard, which are the leading universities globally, the leading medical schools, world first number 3. And in those universities, these research groups are led by clinicians. The clinicians, cardiologists, dermatologists, GI surgeons, gastroenterologists. Okay? So it is these people who lead the research groups. They have their own group. They are the so-called lab heads or the principal investigators, or you call them PI in many countries. And they engage in basic science research. So, and how does that change? Of course, in many countries, like for instance in US, to make sure that clinicians engage in research and take research forward, they have MD PhD programs, which is people with MBBS, then having a career path doing PhDs and then leading research groups and working on basic sciences so that they can translate the findings into clinical studies. So, you do the basic research, and the basic research done by clinicians is very important because, when you have a medical degree, you see diseases in a different perspective. And they have understood the importance of it. So just to highlight in one slide, one of the questions that came across my mind. So I have been interested in dengue for quite a long time, as just introduced. And one of the key questions that I wanted to answer is what causes vascular leak? So all people here, whether you're actively treating patients with dengue or not, you know that in dengue, the reason you get dengue hemorrhagic fever and all the complications associated with it is because of this leakage from capillaries. If you stop that leak, if you can plug that leak, your problem is solved. So, but to plug that leak, you have to understand why on earth is this leak happening. So that was the main question I have been trying to answer, and still, made a bit of progress, but still going on. Things like, why do only some people develop this leakage? Because after all, most people who get dengue are fine. Okay, it's just these some people who develop this leakage. What causes this leakage? I mean, whatever causing this leakage, what cells produce them? Why do these cells produce them? What type of mediator? So I had all these different questions. T cells, I mean host factors, what host factors are these? Genetic factors, viral factors. And if you have all these questions, I hope these are rational questions to you, how do you set about generating answers to this? I mean, let's get the first question. Why do only some people develop severe dengue? Okay, I mean, it's not just purely genetic. There are so many other reasons. So how would you set about answering this? So to set about answering this, of course, you have to be, in my case, I was sort of got the knowledge or the background thinking of how to answer these questions. And that is to do starting with my PhD. So here I would just like to highlight how PhDs are done in other countries, just in case, for people who have not done PhDs, which most of people sitting here because it's medical students, and how different they are to PhDs done in Sri Lanka, for instance. So my PhD was investigating immune responses to the varicella zoster virus, and that's the lab where I sat and worked. So as just introduced, I did my PhD in Oxford through a Commonwealth scholarship. And when I went for my PhD, this was the topic given: investigating immune responses to the varicella zoster virus. Here, of course, people would shoot down that topic. Why? It's very non-specific. I mean, what type of immune responses are you talking about? Is it adaptive immune responses, innate immune responses? Too vague. Bad topic. Okay? But of course, we are talking about hypothesis-generating questions. So actually what happened was, this was my title of my thesis. My supervisor sat me down and said, well, you see, this is your topic. You are supposed to find answers to this. It's good within the first 6 months or so, you find a CD8 T cell epitope. Then, of course, you can work yourself up after finding that. So in the first 6 months, I was supposed to find a CD8 T cell epitope. At that time, I didn't know what a CD8 T cell epitope was, alone finding it. I was supposed to figure out what a CD8 T cell epitope was, how on earth I'm supposed to find it, find the methods. I mean, those things I have to figure out myself. And of course, there was, you see, non-specific, and of course would have shut down. There was no such thing as objectives. Okay? Because I'm supposed to answer this question. Okay, I have to, depending on the initial results, we will be working on and, generating, okay, I find a CD8 epitope, then from that, work myself up. And a PhD proposal, no such thing. Okay, because if I had a PhD proposal written, I can't see why I had to do the PhD anyway, because I would have, generated the hypothesis, understood what methods I'll be using to answer that question, and more than half of the PhD would be done if you could write a PhD proposal. Not for discovery type of research, because there are so many different type of research. If you are discovering something, how can you write a proposal about it? Because you don't know anything about it. You're answering a question that you don't know anything about. You can't write a proposal. So in these universities, there are no such thing as proposals. You are given a very, very broad topic to answer. And of course, methods, no such things. There could be so many different methods, and of course, methods evolve with time. The method that you're using today, maybe like next month, somebody discovers a much better way of doing things. So then you can't be using methods that you used last year. So you have to work yourself up with this. So in the end, what happens is you develop this skill of critical thinking. Because after all, a PhD is Doctor of Philosophy, how you should think. So the basic skill you get from a PhD should be how you think, not anything else. And of course, all this research proposal, ethics, and the supervisor writes it. Not for the PhD, the supervisor writes, or the group head, or the PI, principal investigator, writes a broad proposal, gets ethics and funding, and has so many PhD students working under different areas. And that is what is meant by research group. So in Sri Lanka, as introduced, I am heading a large research group on dengue, write the grants, do the proposals, and have PhD students working on different areas, and also supported by postdocs. Without such research groups, it's really difficult to move forward when you start answering tiny, tiny questions. You can't sort of do discovery type of research. So the basic thing is answering these research questions. And when you get the ability to think and do sort of translational research, even with limited funding, sometimes you can achieve these things. So I'll just give one very important example. So now in this picture is Professor Alan Townsend. Okay, so he is one of my collaborators since COVID. He is a professor of medicine in Oxford. And of course, as I just mentioned, although he's a clinician, he also has a research group working on influenza and iron metabolism. And in most days, he does ward rounds only twice a week, and most days he's in the lab with his pipette. He himself engages in lab work, apart from his students. So during COVID time, so he stopped doing ward rounds because he's Professor Emeritus, he's 70 years old now. When COVID struck, he had just, retired 2 years ago, was working as Emeritus Professor. And he was one of the persons who was sent home because he was too old to work in a lab. He was 67, okay? So all old people were asked to go home and not report to the lab. As you can understand, it was old people who were dying. But before he was sent home, he put in an order for the coronavirus spike protein. And when it was delivered, he came into the lab, picked it up and took it home. Okay. And in his home, he has a small home lab, which has a centrifuge and a microwave. Only a centrifuge and a microwave. And with this centrifuge and a microwave, he developed this assay to detect antibodies to the coronavirus spike protein. This homemade test was published in Nature Communication. This homemade test didn't need any equipment to do because, as I told you, in his house there was just a microwave and a centrifuge. Okay, but to actually do this, that was for the development, but otherwise to do this test, you don't need any equipment. So after developing this test, he sent out the reagents, which is just, the spike protein and the methods, to so many countries, including Sri Lanka. So during our COVID-19 pandemic, if you remember, at one time point, to discharge patients from hospital, one of the criteria was antibody positivity, right? Because there was people in hospital until their PCR was getting negative and nobody was getting negative, so many people. So then the criteria came as, okay, if somebody has antibody positive, you can send them home. But where was the money to do all these antibody tests in Sri Lanka? I mean, we got blood samples from all over the country, and this is the test we did. Okay, so just for you to know. And it is not just us in Sri Lanka who use the test. So many South Asian countries, Bangladesh, Southeast Asian countries, Middle East countries, who use this test homemade. And how did he achieve it? Because he had the know-how to do it. He had this question in mind of how to set about doing something, to answering a very important question. So, and of course, then subsequently we had, alpha, beta, delta, gamma, all these. So with the different spike proteins, you did the same test, and he sent all these to us. And of course, now we have XBB1, B, all the recent ones also he recently sent us. And we look at antibodies to all these different variants. And from his tests, we published more than 12 papers for different variants as well. So this is just how, differences, simple things can make. And this is just another example of one, not that, I am nowhere like him. I mean, he's like an amazing person. But this is just one tiny thing that we have done. And this was published in 2018. And Professor Nimal Sienanayaka highlighted so much of his work, answering a key question where nobody knew at that time, and something novel. So here, we looked at these NS1, antibody responses to NS1. The whole project, assays were done in Sri Lanka. It was not, high-flow assays. We developed these assays from scratch in our lab, just some ELISAs, not very costly assays. The whole project was like 1.5 million, which is not a lot of Sri Lankan money. And we got it published in Nature. And this is because we answered a key question at that time. This was one of the most important questions in the dengue field to be answered at that moment. So just wanted to highlight that in order to do impactful research, we need to think a little bit differently and maybe do things a little bit differently. So the most important thing in doing discovery type of research. We are talking about discovery type of research because we lack discoveries in this country. So this is why I'm talking about discoveries today. It's a research question that is most important. And I'm sorry I can't read what is there or on my slide because with my glasses I can't read anything now. So I need other glasses which I haven't brought. So sorry, so I can't read any of the slides. But basically, you need to formulate a research question to find out why it is important to answer that particular question. and whether previous attempts have been made. Professor Nimal Senanayake highlighted it. Has it been done? Do you want to repeat something done in other country, in Colombo versus Kandy, something like that? Originality, relevance, and so on. And if others have been trying, and if they have failed, why have they failed? So that's a very important question. If others have failed, why? What is the more? Why have they? Because it's just needing to change certain things. And is it worth it? Putting all the effort to answer this question in the first place. And of course, Professor Senanayake was saying that we need to discover our, original sort of curiosity of type of thinking. But I don't think we need to discover it. We need to rediscover it. It's not about discovering it. The reason I say that we need to rediscover is when all babies who are born, which includes us, when we were born, we inherently had a very inquisitive mind. All babies are very inquisitive. But we are not like, but when we go through our education system, you lose it. And why is that? Because of the very colonial type of educational system which suited our colonial masters, which our colonial masters have changed their way of education system, but we stick to the education system which have put here by our colonial masters, where there is only one answer to a question. And A-levels is a good example. Even if there are so many other answers, you will only get marks if you write that particular answer to that question. And because of this, our curiosity, free thinking has very much been curbed. So we don't need to, develop this curiosity. We need to rediscover it. The curiosity which has been, got ridden of for so many years by our education system. And of course, then the methods. Again, I can't read my slides, so I can't, the important thing is how should you proceed to do it? Especially when it comes to discovery type of research, which I think most of you are not very familiar with. How do you set about answering a particular question? So I'm sorry, I can't. So the best methods that you need to use, not outdated methods. And if somebody else has failed, would you use a different method to find something? And what will you measure in when and how, and things like that. So now, Professor Senanayake also answered this question. Why have we incorporated a research part in undergraduate programs, ND programs, and promotions in academic staff? We have done this, but why have we done it, okay? It's important to research to develop the country, okay? So by incorporating all these research components to undergraduate programs, MD programs, and university promotions, how far have we been achieving these things? The students, how they are taught research in undergraduate, the curriculum, have it led to them really understanding more about research, undertaking research, and doing this type of research that would develop the country? And the research done for promotions, has it led to an explosion of research and innovation in Sri Lanka, and quality versus quantity, the importance of that. So, and this is the controversial bit I'm talking about, which I'm not going to be very popular by the end of the day, is are we teaching our students to generate research questions or tick boxes? Okay, so I'm again coming back to the colonial mindset of thinking, where you have to just tick boxes, and if you fulfill this, then you're done, right? It's like your A-level paper. There's only one answer to the question. So title, be specific. Okay, non-specific titles out of the door. Objectives, be specific. Then the study settings. Study design, is cross-sectional, case control, okay, data collection, inclusion, exclusion criteria, sample size calculation, statistical analysis. So you have to tick these boxes to make sure that, you have a good research. But let's say, okay, this type of question. This is one question that I have been answering, okay, basically found the answer in this instance. Now we observed that platelet activating factor was significantly higher in patients with dengue hemorrhagic fever. So that was observation that we made. So the question I had was, does it cause vascular leak? Okay, so how do you find that? So let's go to objectives. Okay, explore, investigate if platelet activating factor causes vascular leak. So usually these explore, investigate words are not encouraged, but that's exactly what you're doing here. Setting, lab, in vitro, in vivo mouse models, okay. Study design, experimental, difficult to have a specific study design here. Data collection, none. Inclusion, exclusion criteria, none. Sample size, okay, I mean, you would do the same test if, let's say you use one particular methodology to see if PAF causes vascular leak, then you would use another one and another one to make sure that it does, because you wouldn't do the same method and show that it causes vascular leak. You would use so many different methods to answer the same question. Okay, so it's a very different type of research we are talking about. And statistical analysis, here you have so many different methods of finding out whether, let's say, PAF causes vascular leak, and then the statistical analysis is, finding all these things and putting it together. So difficult when you go through the conventional tick box things, and of course, very difficult when you get your grants evaluated, your ethics approvals evaluated in the traditional method. So just to highlight, what happens in other countries. So these are just 2 grant applications I reviewed and I know were funded and received millions of pounds or US dollars. So if you look at their research aims, okay, perform a differential characterization of effects of dengue virus infection on expression and release of blah, blah, blah. Characterize and assess the targeted induction of apoptosis. Examine the potential for vitamin D and phenylbutyrine, blah. I mean, these are very non-specific, right? If this research grant was evaluated here, it would be put in the dustbin. Okay, because many of you have evaluated research grants, and I know that's the case. The next one, build a dengue patient serum biobank. Perform expanded and in-depth characterization. Explore diagnostic potential of parasite biomarkers. Investigate whether parasites are useful targets. Okay, again, dustbin research. Okay, but this, of course, funded, and so this is the type of discovery research that happens in other countries and has led to the development and discovery, so many scientific discoveries. So how can we progress towards carrying out, this type of impactful and research innovations, training our students to think and question and explore from childhood, navigate our way possibly from the traditional way of memorizing answers, and then of course ticking boxes, expose our students to different research. I mean, right now in medical faculties, we only expose our students to a particular type of research. The knowledge, attitude, the type of research that Professor Senanayaka mentioned. But do they need to be, for them to think and answer questions, do they need to be exposed to other type of research that is happening? And would it be better for them to be, join a research group for a month or, experience what is happening? I mean, such a lot of research is being done in Peradeniya, Would it be better for them to actually join a research group and understand how things are happening rather than doing a Boru research by themselves? Okay, because I was an undergraduate, okay, once I know how we did our project, I know how you do your projects. Some people have won prizes, so I'm not saying that any of you did Boru research, but of course, I mean, come on, okay, I've been a university academic for 20 years now. I know how it happens. Okay, so should we keep on doing this Boru research and trick ourselves, or do, let the students join a research group, experience, and then they actually get a hang of how things are done, and they actually get to learn research. You can't evaluate it, that's true, okay, but just because you can't evaluate something, that doesn't mean that it's not useful. And And also we had this recent discussion with Ceylon College of Physicians, which has established an infectious diseases forum, whether it will be more useful for people to, colleges to come up with research questions for students to answer. And finally, whether everybody should do research. And I really don't think so. You see, I mean, if you don't want to do research, why should you do research? If somebody forces me to do a surgery, my goodness, you see, so many people would be dead by now. Okay, so I think people should not be forced to do things that they are not good at doing or don't want to do. And just the final thoughts. So drastic changes are needed if you want to do something different. And of course, it's quality that matters to me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, madam. We now invite conference co-chair, Dr. Samidhi Navaratna, to present the token of appreciation to Professor Neelika Malavige, the guest of honor and keynote speaker for PeMSARC'23.
Thank you, madams. We now invite Dr. Lakshika Pathirana, the Conference Secretary of PeMSARC'23, to deliver the vote of thanks.
The chief guest, Professor Nimal Senanayaka, the guest of honor and the keynote speaker, Professor Neelika Malavige, the Vice Chancellor of the University of Peradeniya, Professor M.D. Lamawansa, Deputy Vice Chancellor, the Dean of the Faculty of Medicine, Professor Vasanthi Pinto, Deans of the other faculties, Directors of the hospitals, Directors of the postgraduate institutes, special invitees, academic and extended academic staff, non-academic staff, the Executive Committee of PeMSARC'23, students, other distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. An event of this nature can never be organized without the help of many people, many hard-working people. Also, such an event will not be successful if it weren't for the guests who graced the occasion. So I would take a few minutes for your time to propose the word of thanks and to appreciate many individuals and parties that contributed to the success of the PeMSARC'23. The second Students' Research Conference of the Faculty of Medicine, University of Peradeniya. First and foremost, I would like to thank our chief guest, Vidya Jyoti Kala Shiromani, Professor Nimal Senanayaka, for gracing our inaugural ceremony and for your excellent address. I'm sure that you inspired our students with your words. It means a lot to us, sir. And Professor Neelika Malavige, our guest of honor and the keynote speaker for our occasion. Madam, we greatly appreciate your kindness in honoring our invitation amid many other commitments, and I'm sure your speech has inspired a lot of students in this occasion, and the speech will bloom the keenness in the minds of these budding researchers and will give an invaluable insight for them into the world of research. Thank you so much, madam.
even though our Vice Chancellor, Professor M.D. Lamavansa, had to leave early, I'd like to express my gratitude to Professor M.D. Lamavansa, our Vice Chancellor, University of Peradeniya, for accepting our invitation and being with us today, taking time out of your busy schedule. Your presence is a great strength for us, and also to Professor Terence Madhujit, the Deputy Vice Chancellor of the University of Peradeniya. This gratitude for you too, sir. Professor Vasanthi Pinto, our Dean of the faculty. We greatly appreciate the insightful guidance, immense support, and the motherly care during the whole process, and your charming presence here today. Thank you, dear madam. Without you, this event would have not been a success, or even not have been possible. And the deans of the other faculties of the University of Peradeniya, and the directors of the postgraduate institutes, Professor Samad Dharmaratne, accepting our invitation and being present here today. Directors of the hospitals, we are very much thankful for your presence. All the special invitees, including university officials, including Mr. Arampat, the Bursar of the University of Peradeniya, Proctor Professor Ruwan Jayasinghe, the CMO, Dr. Chandima Herath. Thank you so much for being with us on this special occasion today. Our past deans, the emeritus professors, past academic members, heads of the department, all the academic members, and the extended staff of the Faculty of Medicine. Thank you so much for attending and gracing this occasion and showing your support for the students, towards the students. And our most heartfelt gratitude goes to the Executive Committee of the PeMSARC'23. The co-chairs of the conference were the steering force of this event towards the success. Dr. Samidhi Navaratne, who initiated the event with the concept and who navigated the team with her excellent leadership and joyful yet lovingly pressurizing us all towards the completion, towards the success. Professor Duminde Asratne, though we miss your physical presence here today, sir, you were a great encouragement for our students, for our team. We thank you both for your tireless work and dedication. My heartfelt thank goes to Professor Padmini Dahanayaka, the treasurer of the PeMSARC'23, for her cautious management of the financial staff side of this event. It would be amiss if I did not mention the academic staff of the executive committee worked determinedly throughout towards the success of this event. Professor Manoj Patirage, Dr. Vasana Kudagammana, Dr. Damsara Nandadeva, and Dr. Manjula Piris of the scientific subcommittee, Professor Chamara Dalugama, Dr. Himani Amaratunga, Dr. Kasun Nekanayaka, and Dr. Inosha Alvis of the editorial subcommittee, Dr. Sanjeevani Fonseca, Dr. Kirti Disanayaka, and Dr. Dilma Atupattu of the logistics subcommittee, and Dr. Kesara Ratnatunga and Dr. Yasiti Langasekara of the media and ID subcommittee led the teams and ensured that every aspect of the conference was flawless. As the saying goes, teamwork makes dream works. The students in the executive committee worked side by side, if not more, with the executive committee of academic staff towards the accomplishment of the event that we are so much grateful and so proud of you for their great teamwork. The student chair, Mr. Sajid Karagala, led the team with the student secretary, Mr. Shakti Senaratna, and the student treasurer, Ms. Devini Bandara, and proved that we have the best students with us. Members were led by Mr. Nadrasa Ganesham of scientific subcommittee, Mr. Netsara Kakulavala of editorial subcommittee, Mr. Tumula Ratnayaka of editorial subcommittee, Mr. Malaka Samarasinghe of media and IT subcommittee, Mr. Sanka Dahanagala and Sehan Devranga of logistics subcommittee, Ms. Tissari Karunathilaka and Mr. Shahan Fernando of food and beverage subcommittee, Mr. Sasmitha Vaidyatilaka of social subcommittee did an excellent job. I wish to convey my warm wishes and sincere gratitude for your wonderful work in organizing this event. I'd like to convey my gratefulness to the MFSU too for their support extended towards the event. Our extreme appreciation goes to Mr. Sanjeevani Marasinghe, our Deputy Registrar, Faculty of Medicine, for your support in administrative matters, and the Dean's Office staff of the Dean's Office for assisting us in every possible way, and to the head and the staff of the Technical Resource Center for providing us the sound systems and technical support for this event, and e-library head and the staff of the e-library, Dr. Damita Gunawardena, and the medical education unit staff and all other non-academic staff of the Faculty of Medicine for their continuous support throughout the planning, planning of this event and up to today. Your contribution is greatly appreciated. A special thanks should go to Ms. Iresha Veerasinghe for your dedication. We greatly appreciate the effort of Ms. Menaka Jayaratna, Deputy Bursar of Faculty of Medicine, and her staff with regard to the financial matters. The conference committee is grateful to Professor Saman Nanayakara, the President, and his committee of Candy Society of Medicine, and Professor Heshan Jaivir and his committee of PEMSA for their contribution to this event with research prizes for the best undergraduate research. We would like to thank again the President and the committee of PEMSA UK for their sponsorship for the pre-Congress event. To all the reviewers of research abstracts of PeMSARC'23 and the judges of the research sessions, we greatly appreciate your invaluable contribution to this event. Thank you, dear sirs and madam. And to all who submitted abstracts, a big thank to you from us. It's your contribution that make this event a complete success. We would like to appreciate supervisors of the all research projects that will be presented today, and a special thank goes to the academic members of the Department of Community Medicine. Thank you for planning and coordinating student research activities. Our heartiest gratitude goes to the brilliant compeers and to all the dancing teams who mesmerize us with their performance today. I must extend my gratitude to the parents who are present today, as well as the parents who are behind all these successful medical students. And my thank goes to the Belling printers and candy offset printers for the printing services, and to Okray and Royal Mall for providing food, and to the cleaning staff of the Faculty of Medicine, I extend my gratitude. Last but not least, our dearest medical students. Thank you so much for your presence today and this enthusiastic and energetic support throughout. This whole event is specially meant for you. This is a great platform to present your research, maybe naive or maybe it's your first research today. We thank you for attending and showing your enthusiasm, and hope you obtain the maximum benefit of this event from the research presentations. There were many people who helped in numerous ways to make this event a reality and to make it a success. We appreciate each and every one of you. Thank you so much. Okay, now we are reaching the end of the inaugural session of PeMSARC'23. I invite you all to enjoy a day filled with exciting research presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a kind reminder that the social evening of PeMSARC'23 will be held from 6:30 p.m. onwards today at the beach premises.
We assure you that this evening is going to be a fun-filled event with games, songs, food stalls, and a DJ floor. So don't miss out on it.
In order to conclude the inauguration ceremony of PeMSARC' 2023, please rise for the national anthem.